Hi, Stephanie. Welcome. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
And how you've been?
Been doing very well. Thank you.
Okay. Congratulations on your new book, Meant for More, turning passion into purpose and designing the life you were meant for. Um, dear viewers, Stephanie is a motivational speaker. She's a business strategist and she's a published author. Her book, Meant for More, Turning Passion into Purpose and Designing the Life You Were Meant For, uh, has been published recently and it has received some amazing reviews. You can purchase it on Amazon. And Stephanie lives with her husband in Peoria, Arizona, with her two lovely daughters. So, first of all, congratulations on your new book, Stephanie. And let me start with the first question. Um, you began your entrepreneurial journey with your husband, and after reaching heights of success in business, what made you divert your path and focus your attention on your dreams like writing and motivational speaking?
Such a great question, Diana. Such a great question.
Thanks.
I had spent the first probably, I'd have to really think about it, but maybe 10 to 12 years building a business with my husband. And it was something we just truly, truly enjoyed. We loved working together,
Okay.
and we had found something we were just both really, really good at. And I think sometimes, so often, many of us find something that we can really use our skills at, use our talents, and we're like, hey, okay, I'm good at this. This must be what I'm meant to do. And
Okay.
I couldn't, though, over the years, I couldn't shake the feeling of, but gosh, I never chose this. I never picked this career. If I stopped and I hit pause for a minute, what would I have done? What would I have chosen to do? And so it really started to take me on a journey of realizing, well, I was always passionate about writing. I took a lot of writing courses in college. And I've always been told I'm great at speaking and presenting or teaching. And
That's right.
so it was just kind of going through that journey of really asking myself, and then becoming a mother and realizing that for my own two daughters, I needed to model what it was that I was teaching them and telling them to do. If I'm going to tell them to chase their dreams, then
True.
I better do it myself.
That's right. That's right. That's awesome, Stephanie. And did you ever think that you'd become a writer and inspire people when you were younger? Did the thought anytime strike you?
No, to be honest, when I was younger, I was one of those children that always said, I don't know what I want to do. I wasn't the one that said, I want to be a teacher. I want to be a nurse. I want to be a firefighter. I had no idea. So,
Okay.
no.
Okay. And from the time the thought of writing a book struck you till the time you completed it,
Mhm.
what challenges did you face and how did you overcome them?
Ooh, there were probably a number of challenges. So I can tell you, just thinking back to this, I would say really coming up with the outline of what the book was going to be about. Because oftentimes for writers, they may have a lot of ideas floating around in their head and they think, oh, I'm going to write about this. I'm going to write about this. And until you start building out the map or writing out what the chapters are and what you really want your reader to take away or to learn from it, it's only at that point that you can start to organize it and say, well, I had these stories that I thought were going to fit, but they really don't fit anymore. So that was one challenge, is really understanding and building out the chapters and what the book was going to look like. The other challenge is, writing and getting stuck and being at a loss for words. Sometimes that can be incredibly frustrating.
Correct.
As,
True.
yes, as well as I was right about to publish the book. So I had been through editing and I was sending in the final revisions. That was probably the biggest challenge of all, because I came up to this point where it was like, okay, this is going to go out into the world. Everyone's
Okay.
going to read this.
Okay.
That was probably the biggest, toughest mindset hurdle that I went through.
All right. So you admitted just now that you experienced like the writer's block. Lots of writers experience this, and they've complained about getting stuck with ideas. You get stuck with, there's no flow of words. So um, do you have a writing schedule or a writing routine that you follow? And how do you keep yourself motivated to write?
So I didn't necessarily follow a schedule in the sense that I wasn't writing every single day. I needed to give myself some days to just free think, to just allow creativity to hopefully come in, and it didn't always. I needed to give myself just kind of that space and take the pressure off. But what I did do was I would be very consistent with when I would be writing out what I was going to do for the week. It might be, okay, for 3 hours on this day, you're going to sit down and write however much you could. And then I might have another day where I'm writing for 2 hours.
Okay.
And the biggest thing I'll say with this, with writer's block, that helped me through it was that when I would get stuck, I might sit down and I might have been working on, let's just say, for example, I was working on chapter 6, right? And I might have sat down that day to write, and I thought to myself, I've got nothing. Like I'm stuck. So I would go to a different chapter until something drummed up a story, or I could continue writing on it. And that would get my momentum going, is just
All right.
follow wherever I could find
That's
any sort of
awesome.
story.
Awesome. That's good. Uh, Meant for more, turning passion into purpose and designing the life you were meant for is essentially a guidebook for aspiring women entrepreneurs. But I think it's most importantly, it is for those women who think they have settled in life. And as you had mentioned in your website, it's like a little nudge or a little reminder to these women that they are meant for more. So can you elaborate more on your book? What's your personal take on your book, and why do you think readers should grab a copy of your book?
hmm Yes. So I will say, when I was writing it, you hit it spot on. It was written to a specific type of reader. So it was written to, yes, it's going to resonate a lot with moms, but you don't have to be a mom to resonate with it, right? Because a lot of the stories I tell are stories from before I ever was a mother. That's not a requirement. But it was written to women that were just aspiring, women that felt that perhaps, even though they don't like to admit it out loud, it can feel very taboo to say it, or it's scary to say, gosh, I think I've settled, or I think I've made a mistake with the career I chose, or I feel like I could have done more. So if they ever had those what if moments or those thoughts in their head, the book was written to encourage them to say, you're having that thought for a reason. That's coming up because that's the potential inside of you that knows you have so much more to offer the world, to impact other people, to use the gifts you were given, the talents, the knowledge, the experience, to impact others in a way that we're not even aware that we can impact people.
Correct.
So it was really
Correct.
just written, it was written to inspire, but it was also written as a how-to book, a guidebook, if you will. I
Okay.
thought it was really important that I could inspire you, but inspiration only goes so far. So it was very important that the book have a lot of takeaways in
Yeah.
it so that
True.
women could work through the book
True.
and really feel like they were growing and evolving as they read it.
Okay. Okay. I'm sure it will be it will be beneficial for all the women who desire to chase their dreams. So, uh, um, you like reading. So, I would like to ask you, who's your favorite author, and which is your favorite book
Mhm.
you've read so far?
Yes, gosh, I do. I love reading. So I am a huge fan of personal development books. I love to just read and understand psychology. I love to understand things related to business or just growth, that make us, grow as humans.
Basically, self-improvement
So I
books. Okay.
Self-improvement, I love
Okay.
those types of books, and anything business related. So it was really hard thinking about which book is probably my favorite. But I will say right now, Probably the book that's resonated the most with me recently is a book by Kendra Hall.
Okay.
She's based out of New York City, and her book, her most recent book, I should say, is called Stories That Stick. And it's all about storytelling in business and the power of our stories. And that one was really crucial to me. I ended up reading it a second time when I was going through the writing process because I found myself just getting very stuck. And
Okay.
understanding that we have stories worthy of telling, that helped me a lot. It helped me to share the stories I decided to share in my book a lot
All right.
because of her inspiring. Mm-hmm.
All right. Great. Stephanie, are you a feminist? Are you a feminist? And are you?
What?
And what are your
Oh, go
views on
ahead.
feminism today?
I wouldn't say that. I think feminism, it has a connotation to it. That's such a tough one to answer because I don't like the connotation given to what feminism, is kind of viewed as. I don't like that label. I really, really don't. I'm here to inspire. I'm here to not meddle in politics whatsoever, and instead to just focus on being an inspirational mother, an inspirational woman for both men and women, and just help them see their greater potential.
Okay, but what about those nations where you think women have been suppressed and they've been dominated by this patriarchal system where the men dominate? So, do you think feminism helps in those nations? Because maybe the country you've come from, the society is probably very liberated. But what about those countries where women are suppressed? Do you think feminism helps in those
Yeah, so I think you
countries?
bring up a great point, Diana. I think the point being that feminism is viewed differently in different cultures and it's viewed differently in different countries. So depending on the person you're asking and where they're from, probably skews
Correct.
their viewpoint.
Yeah,
So that's a
true.
great point that here in the United States, for example, feminism is looked at as, just almost just people protesting is honestly what a lot of it is. It's just very loud. It's almost can be almost obnoxious at times. And that's the connotation I didn't want to present. But for those other countries where maybe women are more suppressed, then yes, I do think, to your point, I do think in cases like that, the conversations um, and feminism can be introducing things that ultimately will gain traction and will,
Yeah, true.
promote the equality
Promote
that other,
equality. Correct.
yes,
Equal
exactly.
opportunities for both men and women. True.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct. So
that's
yes,
awesome.
I think you're right. It depends on where we're talking
Yeah,
about
it
it. That's a
depends
great
upon the
point.
country. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the pandemic has taught us many lessons, and people are still coping up, men, women, and children alike, in different ways. They're still coping. Um, what lessons did you learn from the pandemic? What are your takeaways from the pandemic? And what
Mm-hmm.
lessons did you teach your two lovely daughters on this new way of living?
Oh goodness, I feel like there were probably a number of lessons, right? I would say the biggest challenge for me with the pandemic was probably two things. On the one hand, I had my kids that were suddenly trying to do schooling from home and they were trying to do it from computers. So we were sharing internet and technology. And for a little bit there, we were sharing a computer and they were very frustrated, just so frustrated.
Right. Very
And so to
frustrating for kids.
Oh, it was hard for them. It was hard for the teachers. They were missing that socialization aspect. So there was so many unknowns to it, right? And you were just cooped up in your house for just
True,
week after week, month after month.
true,
And so I think the biggest lesson for our kids ended up becoming adaptability. So teaching them that we can sit and we can pout and we can be really saddened by these circumstances for an unknown length of time because none of us knew how long this was going to last,
true,
or we could make the best of it. We could get out every day, we could take a walk, we could get fresh air, we could exercise, we could do things we wouldn't normally do, like play more board games at home. And that's
true.
kind of some of the stuff that we did.
Okay.
We spent more time as a family, but it was adapting that was the biggest takeaway, because I had to show them that this is not going to be the hardest thing you endure in your life. It truly is not. There are things we can never anticipate, the struggles that we go through in our life. But if we learn from other instances and circumstances that we had to just accept it and make the best of it, then it makes us stronger and more adaptable to those future struggles that we're going to inevitably encounter.
Wow.
For me, I would say the biggest struggle was being a motivational speaker, everything shutting down. So
True.
suddenly you had all these conferences, businesses, anyone that would bring in a speaker, they were just completely canceling everything. And it took, I would say, at least 6 months before they started saying, well, okay, I guess we'll do these virtually. We'll do Zoom meeting conferences. We'll do Zoom meetings for the companies. And even when they started doing that, they didn't want to pay their speakers. So
Oh,
it was a
okay.
very, very difficult transition as a speaker. When your income derives, it was just like so many people where their income was completely impacted. They either lost
Very
their job, their
true.
income was drastically reduced, or you just had things really, really pulled out from under you. And so I
Right.
would say, as a speaker, more so than a writer, that was huge. I mean, very unexpected, right?
Very challenging, very unexpected.
Mhm.
True. So those very very motivational words, inspiring words you've shared with your daughters, and I think the viewers can also uh, use it for in their family as well, when who have they have to share it with their own kids. And Stephanie, do you think a budding artist, maybe a writer or a singer, do you think they need to have a strong social media presence on social
No,
media platforms?
no, no,
No.
absolutely not. That is one of the biggest misconceptions, is that you have to have this big following first. No, you have to develop your craft. You have to develop your skill. You have to follow your passion and be exactly who it is that you are. Be true to yourself, and then you will attract the right people. You will attract the people that want to cheer you on, the people that love your music that you sing, or if you're a writer, they love to read about the topics that you write on. So often we just see it backwards, but
Okay.
you just follow your craft and the audience will grow, but it's going to
Okay.
grow in an organic way with the right people.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Uh, if a woman or if the wife is more successful in her career, do you think it affects her married life? Does it affect her relationship with her husband? And what about your husband? Was he supportive of your dreams?
Mhm. I think it probably depends on the relationship, because I could say that, certainly I've seen people where, when that's the situation where the wife does have a more successful career than her husband, it can create tension. And
Okay.
when it creates tension in a situation like that, it's usually perhaps pride, or it's these cultural norms or expectations that have been influenced upon, let's say, the husband, that makes him feel maybe insecure with his wife's
Okay.
career. So I think that can certainly happen. I don't want to say that it doesn't happen, because it does. You hear it all the time.
Yeah, true.
Otherwise, this wouldn't be a question.
Yes.
But it doesn't have to be the norm. And I think we're seeing more and more situations where you have relationships coming together, their marriages coming together, where they view each other as equals and they're supportive of one another's dreams. And I think what can be really important too is understanding that maybe perhaps one spouse needs a little bit more support at a given point in time, but a few years down the road, maybe it's the other spouse that needs more support. And just looking at it and saying, we're a team. Like, that's what marriage is. Marriage is teamwork, and it's supporting one another and wanting the best for one another. It's not a competition. Um,
Correct.
I've been really, really fortunate that my husband has not um, had that type of mentality. He's been incredibly supportive.
That's
He was
awesome.
grades with writing my book, saying, hey, how did the writing go today? How many words did you get? Or, well, what was the topic? Or if I got stuck and I was having writer's block, I would just we would talk it out together. And I'd say, well, here's what I'm thinking. Does that explain it enough? Or he's like, maybe you need a different story. Like we would just collaborate. And it was
You're,
really, it's very fun. It's very fun when you can collaborate and you got to share the wins just as much as you share the, not necessarily losses, but the struggles. You have to share that with your
right,
spouse.
right.
And because there's times that you're going to say, wow, I'm so glad I brought that to you because you gave me a different perspective, or allow them to build you up and encourage you to continue. So that's what I've seen is the absolute beauty in it.
So you're so lucky that you have a very supportive husband and you'll work together as a team, which was a plus point in your case. Stephanie, can we expect some more books from you in the coming years?
Yes, I think absolutely. I haven't outlined book number 2. I have some ideas around in my head, but nothing that I'm acting on right immediately. But
Okay.
I would love to see a book out next year.
Wow, that's wonderful. So we'll
Mm-hmm.
be looking forward to your next book. It was lovely talking to you, Stephanie, and I've learned a lot from you. And I'm sure the viewers found this conversation engaging. I wish you all the best for your future endeavors.
Oh, I appreciate that. It's been my pleasure, Diana. Thank you so much for the time. And I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks a lot, Stephanie, and take care. Bye.
All right. Bye.